Hello everyone, you're welcome to The Inside. I am Babla Jonathan. Following the initiative of the first president of the Republic of Cameroon, Amadou Ahidjo, Cameroonians voted by referendum May 20, 1972 in favor of transforming the state from a federation to a unitary state, thus the change of name from the Federal Republic of Cameroon to the United Republic of Cameroon. In 1984, the country was renamed the Republic of Cameroon under the leadership of the second president, Paul Biya. 48 years after the abolition of the federal system, the unity of the country is threatened by a close to 4-year-long armed conflict in the Anglophone Northwest and Southwest regions of the country, and this is being attributed to the change of structure or form and name of the state in 1972 and 1984, and considered by some analysts as a civilian coup d'etat. We're going to be taking a look at this and the state of the unity of the nation, Cameroon. Meet our guest in some few seconds. Our first guest today is a retired Assistant Secretary General of the United Nations Organization, former Deputy Special Representative of the UN Secretary General in Ivory Coast. He is a civil society actor who has spent the past 30 years on advocacy to resolve the Anglophone problem, and thus promotes genuine national unity. Dr. Simon MUNZU, you're welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Let's go back to May 20, 1972. Where were you at the time, and how did the move from the federal system of state, or the federal form of the state, occur, the move from the federal system to the unitary system?
Well, in May of 1972, I was a student in the United Kingdom. I was, I think, in my second year of legal studies, having left the country in January of 1971. So I would say that I wasn't actually on the scene at the time of the proclamation of the transition from the federal to the unitary form of state. But of course, as a young, if you like, quote unquote, intellectual, we were following developments back home. So we got the news like everybody else. And I have to say that it came as a big surprise to us, the Cameroonian student community in the UK at the time, because no one expected it. Nothing had prepared us for it. We knew that our country had acceded to independence by joining the Republic of Cameroon on the 1st of October 1961. But we also knew that that union was based on the understanding that it was going to be conducted in the form of a federation. So to learn barely 11 years later that the federation was abandoned and that we were entering into a new form, which was a unitary form, a number of us students, Cameroonian students in the UK, that not only took us by surprise, but I remember that we had very heated arguments and debates as to whether or not that was the right thing to do.
Why were you people surprised at that time? You didn't expect it, or there was some other thing, other factors that made you to be surprised that the country was moving from a federal to a unitary system?
No, we could see that there had been signs that this might happen, but at the same time we thought it was just such a, if you like, it would be such an unthinkable thing that we didn't, in fact, imagine that it would come to be, but ultimately it did. Why do I say that? Now, we followed, even again as young people and as students, we followed all the steps that President Ahidjo had taken or was taking towards minimizing the capacity for self-rule, self-government of the federated state of West Cameroon. If you take, for example, the fact that he got all political party leaders to buy into the idea of creating a one-party state, when all the political parties consented. It's true that they consented, including those in the West Cameroon, they consented to be dissolved in order to get together and constitute the Cameroon National Union. Now, the impact of this was that from the 1st of September 1966, when that happened, there was no longer a political party in the state of West Cameroon. Okay? The only political party was the CNU, and the president of that party was Ahidjo. It meant that all of a sudden, the people and territory of West Cameroon, the former Southern Cameroons, lost an institutional framework in which to continue to build their machinery of self-governance as the federated state of West Cameroon. That was 1966. And in 1970 rather, the same Ahidjo modified the constitution so as to make it possible for one person to be both Prime Minister of West Cameroon and Vice President of the Federal Republic. Now, something which had been the case from 1961 to 1965, but that changed when Foncha was forced, as it were, to choose between continuing in West Cameroon as Prime Minister or moving to Yaoundé as Vice President of the Federal Republic. He chose to go to Yaoundé, and Joa was appointed in his place. Now, when Ahidjo decided to replace Joa with Muna over the heads of the politicians in Buea, he did that in 1968, and 2 years later, in 1970, he changed the rules again to make it possible once more for one person to be Prime Minister of West Cameroon and Vice President of the Federal Republic. So, and he took Muna as his running mate for the election, the presidential election of 1970. You know, now immediately after that election, as a consequence of that election, Muna served for 2 years, from 1970 to 1972, as both Prime Minister of West Cameroon and Vice President of the Federal Republic.
And then the initiative of the referendum came into play.
Because, hello?
Yes, I said, and then after that, the initiative of the referendum came into play, initiated by Amadou.
Exactly. Because all that, what I'm recounting here, were just incremental steps preparing the ground for the referendum. Because incidentally, one detail that I didn't mention, but which is important in the sequence of events, was that in the meantime, the same President Ahidjo orchestrated a scission within the Cameroon National Democratic Party, the KNDP, that Foncha was leading, and which was the governing party in West Cameroon, when nudged along by Ahidjo, Muna, the late Egbetabi, and others, created the CUC, the Cameroon United Congress, which was, as it were, the branch, the arm in West Cameroon of Ahidjo's UC in East Cameroon. You know, so by 1972, Ahidjo had prepared the ground along the lines that I have just indicated, and he weakened the institutions of West Cameroon to the point where there was no institution to resist the move that he next took. Now, I would have wished to play you. Unfortunately, I asked you earlier and you said the sound quality wasn't very good, but I'm intrigued and I would like Cameroonians to listen to an audio clip that is in circulation right now of just about 5.5 minutes, but 2 segments. Segment number 1 is where Ahidjo is making a speech on the 30th of September 1961 on the eve of reunification, proclaiming the coming into being of the Federal Republic of Cameroon. And there he is saying, you know, things like, after nearly 40 years of separation, we've come back together again. We are the sons and daughters of one nation, one state, one family. We all have to be very proud about unification. These 2 territories with their 2 languages and heritages coming together will provide a model for African unity. We are going to be the bridge between 2 worlds, etc., etc. Now, these were the terms in which Ahidjo spoke of the virtues of federation. Okay? And barely 11 years later, when all the factors that militated for a federal system of government were still present, the same Ahidjo decided that the time had come to complete his ingenious plan of dismantling the federation and replacing it with a unity state. And he did that in the speech that he pronounced, that he delivered in the Federal House of Assembly in Yaoundé on the 6th of May, 1972. This time around, and that is the second element in that audio I'm talking about, and I will encourage Cameroonians to listen to it. In that second segment, this time around, Ahidjo is saying that federation has turned to be too costly, it is retarding our development, and he puts it that as a consequence of that, he has decided that it is his conviction, ma conviction, but he put things like, ma conviction, ma profonde conviction, que le moment est venu de dépasser l'organisation fédérale de l'État. You know, it was, I have decided. And he said, because of that, he has decided to consult the Cameroonian people through a referendum. This was May the 6th, 1972. And barely 2 weeks later, on May 20th, that so-called referendum took place. Oh. You know, so you see that the sequence of events was such that the people of southern Cameroons, subsequently renamed West Cameroon, who had come into this union fully knowing that they were going into a union where there will be a federal republic, and that in that federal republic they will continue to exercise their self-rule, all of a sudden found themselves without self-rule or self-government.
All right.
Now, how can anybody be surprised?
What is your take on this?
Kind of people will have a deep sense of grievance, and what we call today the Anglophone problem goes back to that moment.
All right. What's your take on that contradiction in the ideology or in the stance of the first president of the Republic, Amadou Ahidjo, in the first except that you indicated earlier, he was talking about the virtues of a federal system. And then shortly after, he's saying that the federal system is no longer good, we need to go for a unitary state, and so on.
Yeah, indeed. So indeed, if we ask ourselves, why did he do that? Why did he do that? Mr. Babila, Cameroonians, to understand the background to all of this, need to understand a certain number of things about their country. And sometimes I get the feeling that we don't know the history of our country enough. Remember that the Federal Republic of Cameroon that came into being on the 1st of October 1960 was made up of two distinct territories. As we all know, the territory of British Southern Cameroon, as it was called then, and the territory of Republic of Cameroon, as it was called then. And from that 1st of October, Republic of Cameroon, which was a sovereign independent state, ceased to be a sovereign independent state and became simply the federated state of East Cameroon. And British Southern Cameroon, which obtained independence on the 1st of October 1961 by joining La République, also ceased to be an independent state and became just the federated state of West Cameroon. Now, it is interesting that West Cameroon had its own government, prime minister, and so on, so it was self-governing. But also, East Cameroon had its own government. They also had their own prime minister. So you see, the two territories had their respective governments, their respective prime ministers, and so on, while Ahidjo was federal president, but with no geographical space, except when you take the two federated states together. You understand? So there wasn't a federal territory over which Ahidjo was president, except when you juxtapose West Cameroon and East Cameroon. Now, in West Cameroon, Foncha and his government were firmly in charge of running that territory. In East Cameroon, I can't remember whether it was Charles Asale or Simon Pierre Chungi, but one of the two was fully in charge of running East Cameroon. And Ahidjo was left at the federal level with no territory, as it were. And yet, again, this is the intriguing thing, and yet, the same Ahidjo, who, by the way, before he became president of the Federal Republic, was president of the Republic of Cameroon, it is his party, the UC, Union Camerounaise, that was the dominant and ruling party in East Cameroon. So you had a situation where a federal president with no specific territory is national chairman of a political party, the UC, which is the ruling party in East Cameroon, where somebody else is head of government. So for Ahidjo, all of that was extremely unsatisfactory, and he had to find a way to end what to him seemed confusion when it came to exercising his own power, and he wanted at all costs to be head of state of Cameroon uncontested. And before reunification, so from the 1st of January 1960, when French Cameroon became independent as Republic of Cameroon, right up to 1st of October 1961, Ahidjo was the uncontested president of Republic of Cameroon. You understand?
And then, from 1972.
This is important, Jonathan. Let me just finish this.
Go ahead, please.
For him, therefore, the Federal Republic, which he saw as something that was he couldn't avoid it because he needed Southern Cameroons to join La République, but he also knew that this federal arrangement for him was not going to be something that would last, because it was not in the interest of his perception of power. And it is not surprising, therefore, that he did everything progressively, step by step, inch by inch, to achieve the result that he achieved in 1972. Now, so if you look at it, Jonathan, we know the significance of 1st January 1960 is the day on which the former French Cameroon became independent. And our Francophone brothers and sisters were celebrating that day as their day of independence, and quite rightly too. It makes a lot of sense. October, both as a date on which one of our component territories became independent from colonial rule, and our two component territories formed a union, something that Cameroonians should be proud of. On the other hand, we, all Cameroonians, Anglophone and Francophone, should be proud of the 1st of January 1960 as a day on which one of our component territories got independence from colonial rule from France. But what is 20th May?
But Doctor, 20th May is the day that the country became a united republic. 20th May is the day that the two parts decided to abolish the federal system and stand for a unitary state. Isn't it important also?
No, Jonathan, it is not. Let me tell you why. It is not important. Because, first of all, I mean, we saw a short while ago how it was done. It was, Ahijo himself said, j'ai décidé, je. So that's not the way in which the kind of arrangement that was entered into 1961 should have been ended. But over and above that, this is the crucial thing. The move over from the Federal Republic to the United Republic had as its consequence nothing other than putting an end to the self-rule of West Cameroon. The self-rule of West Cameroon, that's all that disappeared. Otherwise, if you saw the way the United Republic was run after that, all its institutions and the systems that were followed, whether it is the administration and so on, were built upon the model of governance which was practiced in the Federated State of East Cameroon. So the Federated State of East Cameroon lost nothing. What it was and what it was doing simply now became something national for both territories. So the real significance of 20th May, when you analyze it, was putting an end to self-governance for West Cameroon and extending the governance system of East Cameroon to the territory of West Cameroon, and that's what we've had up to this day.
From 1972 to 1982, another thing happened, another major thing happened. I'm talking about the change of name from the United Republic to the Republic of Cameroon under the second president, Paul Biya. What do you think about this?
Yes, I think if my memory serves me right, in February 1984. But there again, you find a situation where, okay, the people of West Cameroon could have licked their wounds and said, okay, we've been taken into a unitary state, but at least the name that has been chosen for this unitary state has the connotation of our two parts of the territory having come together. We'll talk of United Republic of Cameroon. The unity was between the former West Cameroon and the former Republic of Cameroon. So in that name, there was still the connotation of the coming together of two components. But what happened in 1984, in February, under the incumbent president, within 2 years of his coming to power, was to change the name from United Republic of Cameroon to Republic of Cameroon. In other words, taking us back to the name by which the former French Cameroon alone was known when it achieved independence from France and called itself République du Cameroun.
And one of the stars on the flag disappeared.
How are Anglophones expected to digest the fact that in 1984, a country which comprises them, their territory and the territory of the former Republic of Cameroon, will henceforth be called Republic of Cameroon? Now, these are things.
But doctor, there is a school of thought. There is a school of thought which says that for a perfect unity, the lines have to disappear. What do you think about this?
Lines of what? What lines?
The lines of the two parts, and that's why would they have to
using
to explain the disappearance of one of the stars?
No, but exactly. So, but why would they have to disappear? Why would the lines, as you put them, have to disappear? The two territories had their characteristics. In fact, again, in that excerpt I'm talking about, in Ahidjo's speech on the 30th of September 1961, he himself said, he said, après plus de 40 années de séparation. So he acknowledged the fact that we had been separated for more than 40 years, and we're all happy that we're not coming back together. But without forgetting the fact that the reality that we have been separated for more than 40 years, as Ahidjo himself counted and put it. Now, didn't those 40 years leave their mark? Didn't they leave their consequences on who we are, how we conducted our business, what school systems we ran, what justice systems we ran, what kind of policing we did in our communities, our sense of right and wrong, etc. We had been molded. So if we are coming together, taking that into consideration, what would be the reason why, in terms of, as you put it, wiping out the lines should be wiped out in terms of one territory and one heritage absorbing the other?
Doctor, from your analysis, it can be concluded that you're backing the idea that what happened in 1972 and 1984 was a civilian coup d'etat. Is that what you're saying?
No, I mean, anybody, any right-minded person would come to that conclusion. Any right-minded person will come to that conclusion. Especially in 1984, Jonathan. How can you, I mean, even if you are a 5-year-old child, go today and call your 5-year-old, I don't know, son or daughter or niece or nephew or whatever, and say to this child that this is A and this is B. A and B form C. But from now on, A and B are going to be called A. That child is bound to tell you, uncle or daddy or whatever. That doesn't seem right. Okay? It's as simple as that. I don't even know why we have to quarrel about this. It's so simple. And the reason why we're quarreling about it is that, of course, there are hidden reasons, hidden agenda behind the whole scheme. Right from the beginning, for Ahidjo and subsequent regimes, it was clear that what they wanted was a unitary form of government. And they accommodated the federal arrangement temporarily just to allow us to enter. But all along, the intention was to change as soon as possible to a unitary state. Now, which in itself wouldn't perhaps matter that much if we didn't have different heritages. If we didn't have different heritages. Okay? But we do. And we did. So, when we're talking about national unity, let it be clear in everyone's mind. And it is not extremism or anything to draw attention to the basic truth that no generation of Anglophones, I repeat, no generation of Anglophones will accept that they just be assimilated by Francophone, and that Anglophone culture in this country just ceases to exist. You go from Nkambe to Victoria or Limbe and find that what is here now is the same as what was transpiring in the Francophone side. I can tell you that people will resist it.
Doctor,
people have been resisting it. That is why they have been peaceful, by peaceful means, right from 1961. If you take individuals like Dr. Fonlong and others who, right from the beginning, even Foncha himself, in the various memos they wrote to Ahijo as partners, Ahijo's partners in governing, they complained about this. Civil society organizations like the Cameroon Anglophone movement complained about this. You are aware that in 1993, I was one of 3 people who convened the first All Anglophone conference. We met as a community and we complained about this. So how can we be complaining about something for so long and successive regimes in Yaoundé and their supporters, so to speak, continue to behave as if there is nothing, even today?
What happened in 1972 and 1984 considered today as the major causes of the 4-year-long crisis that has killed many, displaced hundreds of thousands, villages burnt down in Anglophone Cameroon. When you look at the nation today, what do you think about the state of the unity?
As I say, a lot happened progressively and incrementally. In fact, to the point where I think by 2016, some people may have thought that the job had been completed. So it must have come to them as a surprise that starting just from what they saw as a mere protest of Anglophone teachers and Anglophone lawyers, the Anglophone community did what it did as manifesting its support for the teachers and lawyers by so massively, if not to say unanimously, following the call, the initial call starting on the 9th of January 2017, a call for no school, a call for Mondays being ghost town. Okay, there was no Ambazonia then. Nobody forced them, but there was that massive adherence to this. It ought to tell those who are governing us something. And so we were hoping that all this will prepare the minds of those who are governing us, waking them to the fact that there is a problem that requires that we sit down and have a genuine dialogue to go through all of this. But see where we are. On CRTV radio and television, on that Sunday, 23rd of May, 1993, one person was guest on Cameroon Calling, guest on Dimanche Midi, Cameroon Calling in English, guest on Dimanche Midi in French, and guest on Actualité Hebdo in French in the evening. One day, the same person. And it was on this Anglophone problem. And that person was my humble self. The records are there. If you go to YouTube, you still find today the video of the interview of Actualité Hebdo that I did with the young, one of your young colleagues of those days, Elundu Ngama. And I can tell you, Jonathan, and I encourage you to please do it, and through you, I'm encouraging other Cameroonians, Anglophone and Francophone. It is in French, but these days Anglophones follow French without any difficulty. I will encourage Cameroonians, go and watch, listen to that video, and you will understand why we are still in problems today. Because from 1993, where all the issues were the same as we are discussing today, to 2020, nothing has changed because no one has resolved anything. Is that normal? Is that right? The problems would not go away by themselves. And what some of us who are very keen on the unity of this country have been saying is that unity is not decreed. You don't decree unity. People, the geographical territory is there. So, when we talk about unity, you can talk of unity in terms of just the geographical territory. All of Cameroon is geographically one. And you say, okay, some people are trying to secede, so we must fight against them because they want to split our country. Yeah, all of us will join to say that nobody should split our country. But Mr. Babila, national unity is not limited to geographical entity. National unity presupposes political unity. It presupposes sociological unity. It presupposes cultural unity. It presupposes religious unity, and so on. We have to be united. But being united doesn't mean that we are uniform, because we are not. We have different religions, we have different cultures, we have different colonial heritages, we have different... Cameroon by nature is a diversified country. And you don't unify a diversified country by decree. A diversified country like Cameroon gets its unity from the opportunities that you create for Cameroonians to talk amongst themselves, to dialogue, to examine their problems, to see whether they can work out compromises, to see whether they can arrive at consensus, and so on. And it is the compromise they arrive at, the consensus they arrive at, the shared values that emerge from this collective discussion.
Dr. Simon MUNZU, are you saying that national unity does not exist in Cameroon today? Is that what you're saying?
It is those things that form the foundation of national unity. National unity is not by decree.
Dr. Simon MUNZU, are you saying that national unity is not a reality in Cameroon?
You answer me that question, Mr. Babila. You are as much a citizen of this country as I am.
From the head of state, down the administrative ladder, all the administrative authorities have repeatedly said Cameroon is one and indivisible. Cameroon is united, and that is why May 20 is National Unity Day. So
that precisely, my dear young compatriot, is the root of the problem. Those who say that speak as if you can decree national unity. No, national unity is not something by decree. So you cannot say that Cameroon is one and indivisible. What does it mean? Of course, Cameroon is one. And if by indivisible you mean that no part of it can live, I would agree with you. I'm not advocating that any part of Cameroon lives. But is that what is the foundation of unity? Is that what unity in Cameroon and for Cameroonians means? That our territory is geographically one? No. Our unity comes from a shared sense of values such as tolerance, being prepared to listen to each other. We're talking about vivre ensemble and all of that. You cannot have any of that when you operate a system in which Cameroonians are not encouraged, in fact, they're not even allowed, even when they want to do so, to meet and discuss issues that are of critical importance to the nation. You can't.
But Cameroonians met in the major national dialogue, and you were there to discuss the solution to the Anglophone crisis, and there are some of the recommendations of the major national dialogue that are already being implemented. There is the special status which public authorities say it's restoring the autonomy the autonomy of the northwest and the southwest regions of the country, similar to what to how it was in the federal system.
You know, Jonathan, you know, in a country like ours, we mustn't act, let alone think, as if once the authorities have made a pronouncement, that pronouncement is gospel. No. If that is the reality of our country today, then I'm afraid we have given ourselves the wrong country. And then it will be about time that we changed, because a country that is run on that basis can never make progress. Where you stifle analysis, you stifle discussion, you stifle evaluation of what is going on, because you say the government has said, public authorities have said. No, the government has authority to govern. The government has authority to decide. But citizens that we are, you and me, have the right to examine carefully what the government is doing, and that is what
I want you to do, Dr. Simon MUNZU, to examine what government has been saying about national unity and about the fact that it's working out solutions to the Anglophone crisis, notably through the special status, which the authorities think that is a solution to the problem.
I was coming there. As you rightly mentioned a while ago, I was invited. You know, the Prime Minister, working on it as instructed by the head of state, invited people to the dialogue, and I received an invitation. I was in fact out of the country when I got the invitation, and I came. I attended the dialogue, as you remember. I had the privilege and the honor of being one of those who delivered a keynote address at that dialogue, as you know. And in addition to that, I had the privilege and the honor of chairing one of the 8 commissions, the committee or commission on reconstruction and development. Okay, so.
And you were equally one of those who recommended the special status. So
exactly.
is it a solution?
Exactly. So indeed, and I, by the way, in my keynote address, those Cameroonians should understand this. In my keynote address, I did specifically say that we Cameroonians have not come together in this national dialogue to put a label on our country, saying that we are a decentralized state, a federal, a confederation, or whatever. And I said, what is in the name? The name doesn't matter. What matters is the content. And I think this was taken very well by participants, as you may have heard. All right, so, and therefore, when at the end of our deliberations, it was recommended that the Northwest and the Southwest be granted special status, we all applauded that, and we're happy. Because, number one, this meant that for the first time in the history of our country, in a forum attended by Cameroonians, organized by the government of Cameroon, with Cameroonians of all walks of life participating, we had recognized that there is an Anglophone problem as a nation.
But several months after, the special status and the other recommendations seem not to be solving the problem. Killings, destruction are still going on.
And that as a nation, we have recommended that this problem should be solved through granting the Northwest and Southwest regions special status. So we all applauded. But that is as far as the major national dialogue went. In other words, as at the 4th of October, when the dialogue ended, that's where we were, right?
And several months after the 4th of October, the special status and all the other recommendations seem not to be yielding the fruits.
Exactly. Now, Mr. Babila, from the 4th of October, we now expected to see implementation of the recommendations. Now, when it comes to the one on special status, which you are referring to, Mr. Babila, I have read and read and read again the law on decentralization that was promulgated by the head of state on the 24th of December 2019. In a part of a book, because the law comprises of the five or six books. And there is a book, I think book 4, that deals with regional, with the regions, regional councils. Inside that book 4 is buried a part, numbered 5, part 5, titled Special Status for the Northwest and Southwest Regions. Okay? So that is where we would have expected to see the content, I insist, the content of special status. But Mr. Babila, what is the content of special status?
The content was later defined.
I'm not preaching.
And
I don't political party. I am more concerned with us as citizens, understanding what is happening in our country. So I engage public discussion, public debate. So I would invite Cameroonians, Anglophone and Francophone, to go and read the relevant articles and let them say to themselves, not to you, not to me, to themselves, whether they see anything special status in those provisions.
All right, Mr. Simon MUNZU,
just to give you some examples, because somebody will say, but those articles at least say something. But let me give you as an example. It is provided that in the 8 Francophone regions, the regional council will comprise 90 members. And that those 90 members have to represent the sociological composition of the region. Fine. And that includes, of course, traditional rulers. Fine. And those 90 members will meet as one chamber. They meet as one chamber to discuss any issue concerning the region that's within the competencies of the region. Now, when it comes to the Northwest and Southwest, the councils there, the regional councils there, also have to are composed of 90 members. But instead of leaving it to the councils to decide, reflecting the sociological composition of the regions, how many of those 90 should be traditional rulers, as in the case in the other 8 regions, because in the other 8 regions, the regions decide how many places to give traditional rulers. For North and Southwest, the law imposes a number of 20 traditional rulers. And the other 70 come from, if they are non-traditional rulers. Okay, so 70 coming from all other sociological components of the region, and 20 traditional rulers. They then go on to say that unlike the 8 regions where, the 8 Francophone regions where the 90 meet together, in the North and Southwest, the 90 should meet separately. 70 meet separately as the so-called House of Divisional representatives trying to mimic and make this is the House of Assembly in Buea that we used to know, and that the other 20 who are all traditional rulers should meet separately under the denomination House of Chiefs, giving the impression that we have back giving us back what we used to have, the House of Chiefs. How serious is that?
All right, Dr. Simon MUNZU, retired Assistant Secretary General of the United Nations Organization, former Deputy Special Representative of the UN Secretary General in Ivory Coast, civil society actor who has spent 30 years advocating for the resolution of the Anglophone problem. Thanks for joining us on this edition of The Inside.
Thank you.
Coming up next, meet ETV's Derek Jato and Honorable ETOMBI Gladys.
Welcome to the seaside resort town of Limbe. Welcome to the program, and my guest is a member of parliament. She is Honorable ETOMBI Ekome Gladys. She is a member of parliament for Fako East on the ticket of the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement, the CBDM. Honorable, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jato.
We are very, very honored that you have accepted to talk to us. Honorable, we are talking about the National Day, the unitary state of our country, Cameroon. We are just from commemorating the 48th edition. First of all, the head of state and chairman of your ruling party addressed the nation. That was on the eve of the National Day. What did you deduce from President Biya's speech?
Thank you very much, and thank you for putting me on the program this evening. The National Day, as we all know, was not celebrated. We remembered it and we honored the nation as the president had ordered to raise the flags in all the places where it was necessary, and for all Cameroonians to think, meditate on what Cameroon we want to leave for the people who are coming after us. The first thing that moved me was that he extended sympathy to all families who have lost members through the COVID-19. He brought encouragement to all those who are sick with COVID-19 presently. And of course, he remembered the sacrifices made by the medical people. Honestly, I was very touched. And in conclusion, to me, what he did was bring hope to every mind and every Cameroonian.
Let's talk about your contribution vis-a-vis COVID-19. What have you been doing as a member of parliament for Fako East?
As an individual, as a parliamentarian in my own right, I have done quite a bit also. The first thing is that I try to educate the people as much as possible on the importance of respecting the rules which have been given to us by government. Because many people do not, they want to disagree that there is COVID-19. And we take time to explain to them that COVID-19 is real. It is with us. It has come. We don't know when it will go away. But what we can do is face it squarely.
Cameroon president, the chairman of your party, the ruling party, spoke for 19 minutes. Some people are with the opinion that despite the fact that Cameroon is suffering and the world at large is suffering from this pandemic, but two regions of this nation, before the coming of COVID-19, are also in trouble. That's to an extent, he was supposed to even condole with family members whose loved ones were killed or who lost their loved ones during this Anglophone crisis. The recent one being the Ngarbo massacre. What do you think about that? Because somebody that died from COVID-19 and somebody that died from a stray bullet is still the same pain in the family.
Well, I don't want to believe that is the same thing. What I would like to say is that the President of the Republic generally does not address the nation on the eve of 20th May. But when there is a pressing issue, he uses his discretion just as he did a few days ago. If he decided to address the nation at this time, it is because of COVID-19.
Some say the address is coming a bit late. He was
No, I want to differ with all the people who think that the address was late. Why do they say it was late? Before he addressed the nation, he had been reaching out to Cameroonians from the beginning of the pandemic. He had been reaching out to us. He has been giving instructions to the government. They have been reaching out to us. So why do they think that he was late? It was an opportunity for him to speak personally, and I don't think it was late. It was very timely, because that was a time he could talk to the nation. He can talk to the nation at all times. He doesn't need 20th May to talk to the nation. But if he chose that opportunity, then he has a reason for it. And I believe that he addressed the issue which is pressing at the time. Yes, the Northwest and Southwest is in crisis. He has addressed that issue before. I remember that he addressed the nation, and for 20 minutes he spoke only on the issue of the Northwest and the Southwest. Why didn't people say that that was too much time for him to spend on that? He did. When he thought it was necessary, he did address the nation at that time for that purpose. And he has not stopped addressing the nation in different ways because of the Northwest and Southwest. You know better than I do that now we are talking of reconstruction. He gave the go-ahead. He's a man of action. His actions are speaking for him. He is the father of the nation, and he addresses the issues as they come up. He doesn't need to address all issues at once. He does address the issues one at a time, and as the need arises, he does what is necessary to do at the time. So I just want to say that I was happy that he addressed the nation, and he addressed the importance of all Cameroonians to follow the regulations which have been put in place for COVID-19. COVID-19 is no respecter of persons. It is something which has come to all of us. And he gave it the importance it deserves at the time. And I believe that he did a good thing. And he was not late at all. It came on time.
Do you think the president's action through his minister and through even the head of government, the prime minister, is enough? We have seen other countries. We are not comparing anyway, but because Cameroon has its own specificities, especially the easing of some of these rules and the opening of bars. Many think that at the time that the cases are increasing, measures need to be more serious. Even some additional measures need to be put in place rather than easing these rules. Do you think we are following the right track here?
Well, I just want to ask you a simple question, or ask everybody who's listening a simple question. Is anything ever enough for everybody at the same time? Never.
Of course, but the majority.
Never in life is anything that you do going to please everybody, or going to. That is how life is. I believe that life is full of challenges, and the way to handle challenges is to have a positive mindset, to work to overcome the challenge that you have in front of you. If we all believe that we want to fight COVID and we follow the leadership that we have, I think that we will not be asking the question whether it is enough. Have we even done what is asked of us now before we're asking for more? If they ask the bars and the restaurants to open, have you thought of the implications for the many Cameroonians who, for the month where bars and restaurants were closed, had no means of livelihood? If the government has thought that, okay, we have taught them that it is necessary to protect yourself, it is necessary to do this. Now, the pain, the financial pain, is affecting so many people. And the way to let off this financial strain and pain is to let them go back to work, but follow the rules which have been put in place. I think that was a very wise decision.
Of course, a wise decision.
Yes,
it's just better, but not the best, because others
well,
are with the opinion that the government could have even subsidized some of these commodities.
That is what you are saying. Government has done a lot. I want to believe. Let us give praise where it is due. Government has done a lot. They have reduced taxes. A lot of taxes that the Bayam-Selams, the bike riders, the taxi drivers are supposed to pay have been virtually cancelled for this period. Isn't that good enough? Isn't that something that they have done? Isn't that something that the government has done for everybody? Please, we need to appreciate the little which has been done. And once we appreciate that little, much more can come.
Honorable ETOMBI Ekome Gladys, you are a lawmaker, a member of parliament for Fako East here in Fako division of the Southwest region of Cameroon. This is your second mandate. Let's talk about the National Day and the Unity State. We all know that the 20th of May, just that day that is set aside to commemorate former President Amadou Ahidjo's abolition of federal state for the Unity State. Take us back. Where were you that day, and did you vote for the Unity State?
I don't want you to. I don't want. Maybe you should rephrase your statement to say that it was former President Ahidjo's day. No, it was a day for a referendum for the country. The day that all of us in the Southwest and in the Northwest and in the former East Cameroon decided that we wanted to be united. So if you put it the way you put it, you are putting it as if it is one person who took the decision. I want to think that
it was a national referendum in 1972.
And a referendum means that all of us were part of it.
Of course, but the president then was at the helm, and we must give.
Yes, then put it well, put it so that people will understand. Because many people don't understand. When you put it that way, the way you put it, it sounds as if it is something that he forced on us. No, it was a referendum, and we all voted. I was not in the age to vote at that time, definitely. I was still a little child, but I know that my parents were there, and I learned a lot from them about the importance of unity for our country. One of the main things that I picked up from my parents was that when we got united, it was such a relief for the people here, because many times they had trouble with liquidity, with paying of salaries, and the rates of salaries that they received were so much lower than those of the people of the East Cameroon. But once we came together, it was all harmonized, and we on this side benefited a lot from that. That
relief then, some say today, is a pain. Let me explain. The marginalization page of it, and critics say that is even one of the reasons that have taken us where we are. I'm talking about the Anglophone crisis. Do you think that this Anglophone crisis is drifting that unity apart? And if things are not done, are you seeing the unity in the future?
Well, I would like to say that unity is strength. And I would like to say that anyone who thinks that unity is not good has it all wrong. Unity is something that, of course, involves more than one person. And in our case, it involves us who speak English and those who speak French. I want to think or want to believe very strongly that crises have never solved any problem anywhere in the world. What has helped to bring relief to situations like we are facing is understanding and an open mind to be able to work together with the other person.
Honorable ETOMBI Gladys, you're a member of Parliament for Fako East, and this is your second mandate. Many people out there, they know you and they know that you're a devoted Christian. But are we really working with our consciences here? I remember during your last mandate, the opposition party, I'm talking about the Social Democratic Front, took the more aggressive approach for the Anglophone crisis to be heard in the parliament. Do you oppose your party even when they are wrong, or you go there and follow by the party lines and forgetting your people that elected you? Are we really, member of parliament west of the MUNZU, are we really defending the interests of the people that voted us?
Mr. Jatu, I would like that because you are a journalist, you should have your facts very straight and clear when you talk to the public. It helps us to understand issues and to make responsible decisions about what is around us. The statement you have just made, I would like to say, as MPs, it is not because you stand on the microphone and you shout and you make noise that makes you a better parliamentarian or someone who succeeds more in parliament because they do things the right way. We should get that very clear. Doesn't mean that because the SDF was standing on the rostrum and causing confusion and making noise, they work more than the Southwest MPs in this issue. No. We have, as Southwest MPs, we have done a lot of things which are verifiable. And we know that the best way to achieve is to be able to sit on the table and put your points across. That way, you achieve even more than standing and making noise and not achieving what you think that you want to achieve.
You tell me that the major national dialogue is one of the achievements that you people push through. 4 years running, this approach, is it working? People are still in the bushes, refugees are still in Nigeria.
Yes.
When will they be back? It is worrisome. And if
well, you tell us. You tell us what, that you go and collect all those people and bring them back. We'll ask you to bring them. But you have to, please. It is important. I mean, very important that we put things into context.
When are we to put things
into context? Adults are adults. Adults are adults. You make the appeals. You create the environment for things to change, and there are others who are working behind you to give them contrary word advice. And I want to believe that the appeals have been made. The President of the Republic has actually put the olive plant and asked the people to come. He has done that. Now, that is, so what do you want him to do? I I don't know which other way can be used to convince the people. The things that they have put in place. We cried, major national dialogue, people should come and talk. We went and talked. Now, the implementation of the things that were proposed from the dialogue have systematically been put in place. Don't forget that this is a government. And the government doesn't just wake up one day and takes decisions. Before they take decisions, they must be decisions which they can back and which are sustainable.
Now,
and that is what the government is doing all these years.
Honorable.
Yes, sir.
4 years down the line.
Yes.
You are talking about major national dialogue. I think many people out there feel that major national dialogue was just cosmetics because people that were aggrieved with the state, their points were clear. Release our leaders and talk with them. That was never done. And there is that opinion that we are where we are today because they are still in prison. They have even been sentenced. I'm talking about Siseko Ayu and co. So somebody has complained or is complaining and said this is the way out. And then you are taking your own way out and we are still where we are today. Do you think the approach of the government for the interest of the state, with that taken into consideration, those who cause it and how they feel that it should be solved, will take us anywhere? You are a lawmaker and people feel that you people are respecting by your party hierarchy, not the people that elected you.
Please, let us come to one agreement. When there is a conflict, they are to resolve it. It is a give and take. All conflicts, that is what it is. It is true that you journalists, some of you, I don't know whether you want to use a sledgehammer to hit the government, and you forget to look at your job as a journalist is to be able to present both sides of a situation and let the audience take the decision, informed decision.
Now, I was in Manfi, Honorable, I'm not cutting you short.
Yes.
2 weeks ago, a traditional ruler from Dadi, under Akwaya subdivision, told me that he has been in Manfi now for the past 3 years. I said, but places are calm. He said, I cannot get to my village as a traditional ruler, and there's nobody in my village. All my subjects are in Nigeria, and some have crossed over to other towns. When you hear a traditional ruler complaining to you in pain, and I'm privileged and opportunity to talk to a lawmaker, it's not my opinion, it is the people's opinion out there.
Oh yes, so I also have the people's opinion. I'm a lawmaker and the people's representative, and I know that I have the people's opinion at heart, and I take up their opinions to the quarters where decisions can be taken. I want to ask you a simple question. When you have two wrongs, does it boil down to a right?
No, of course.
I'm glad you have said that. You said you went to Manfi.
Yes.
So the young mayor who was killed, is that a good thing?
It's not a good thing. It should not be encouraged.
Oh. So why is it that you are not talking about that? You are telling, you are putting forward only other things. There have been errors made from both sides. So we need to be able to encourage both sides to stop this kind of behavior. It is so important. You just said that I'm a lawmaker. I said I am the people's representative, and I listen to the people. And you know, many of our children are still in the bushes today because of the wrong understanding of issues about the state. Many of them, they have cried, we have all cried that the youth have to be employed. Oh, just a few days ago, we had the Limbe Autonomous Port confirmed. It is very rare to have a decree creating the port, and the next day you have the status of the port already accepted and outlined. You know that. That shows you that the government is not sleeping. The government is looking for ways to address these issues. But we have to come out of the bushes. We have to come out, and we have to be able to know that, okay, the opportunities are coming. We have to be where we can get the opportunities. And will we get these opportunities from the bushes? No. Please, I'm making a special appeal to the children, to the adults in the bushes. Please, reconsider your ways.
We know the Anglophone crisis now, the COVID-19, but what are some of the projects in your pipeline? What do you intend realizing before this mandate runs out?
Thank you very much. As you said earlier on, I'm a practicing Christian, and I live my life one day at a time. I just told you what I have done in the past in the past 1 month. That's a lot. And there's still a lot to be done. Each time I get to the point of doing something, you will know, because you will be there to cover the event. So why don't we leave it at that and look forward positively to what is happening? In fact, if you want to know, just for you, I will tell you that one of the things I have in the pipeline, which is in fact almost immediate, is creating a forum for the youth to be able to sharpen their skills and make them ready for the opportunities which are coming. I think that one I can tell you. So as soon as you hear that I'm having the seminars, the trainings, and all of that, please be part of it.
Honorable,
we can help each other.
Thank you very so much. Honorable ETOMBI Equinoxe,
yes.
You are the Member of Parliament for Fako East.
Yes.
This is your second mandate. Address your constituency.
Thank you very much. For all of us who are in Fako East constituency, my appeal is simple. Let us all be nation builders. Nation builders, and the cornerstone of what we need to use to be nation builders are simple, and they are virtues that we have in us: honesty, humility, trustworthiness, commitment to work, hard working. Those are things that you develop virtues for yourself, and as you do them, you help to build our nation. Let us all be nation builders. Let us all be instruments of love. Instruments of love, because when you love your neighbor, you will not want them to be hurt. When you love your neighbor, you want that good things should come to them. We need to love one another in our country. We need to uphold the virtues of unity, accepting each other no matter where we come from. We live together. We work together. We should be able to support each other in good times and in bad times. If we all do that, then we are truly building our nation, the land of promise and the land of glory.
Thanks again for your time, Honorable ETOMBI Equinoxe, Member of Parliament for Fako East, here in Fako Division of the Southwest region of Cameroon. She is a Member of Parliament on the ticket of the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement, the CBDM, and this is her second mandate. And this is where we draw curtains for this program, The Inside, from Limbe, the town of Friendship.
Thanks, dear viewers, for staying with us. That's it for today. Goodbye.